This is Chippy from the My Omnia Pro blog with the Samsung Omnia Pro B7610. This is actually a Dutch version known as the Omnia Quality, but it's a full retail version and the same as the devices that you would find in Germany and UK. So in this video I'm just going to take 10 minutes to go around the hardware of the device. In a separate video we'll look at the software, but there's enough to talk about in 10 minutes in just the hardware here. So before I start, let's just do a quick size comparison so you get an idea of the size of this device. This is my previous device, the Nokia N82. It's very slightly shorter, about the same thickness, but just a little bit deeper by about 8 to 10 millimeters there. So it is a fairly chunky device, it has to be said, compared to devices like the iPhone and the TJ01 from Toshiba, but it is a full slider device with an 800 by 480 OLED screen, and that's a touch layer as well. But before we get into that, let's just go around the device. Top left here you've got volume rocker switch. This doesn't seem to be programmable for anything like brightness or anything else, so it's a volume rocker switch. And then there's a button to switch between work and life user interface modes or home screen modes, and I'll show you that a bit more detail in another video. Going down, there's I'm actually not sure whether that's one of the microphone inputs or whether that's one of the microphone inputs down there, but it could be actually dual mic array for noise cancelling. Nothing else on the bottom there. Here's a shutter release button for the camera. It brings up the camera pretty quickly when the device is on, so that's nice to see. Half press to focus as well. And then on the top right is a dedicated lock button. Also another input there that could, another what looks like mic input there, and it could well be another part of the microphone array for noise cancelling when using speakerphone mode, for example. Then we have a 3-part collapsible metal stylus for use on the touchscreen. On the top is where the connectivity is, just getting the right light on this. There's 2 hidden connectors. They've got the micro USB port there, which is also used for charging, and the 3.5mm headphone jack, which is actually a headset plus TV out jack. The unfortunate thing is that the TV out cable isn't included in the box, or wasn't included on this one. I don't actually like these covers on the ports. The ports are used so regularly that I'd like them to be exposed rather than covered. Although it looks nice, I'm sure these little covers are going to break within weeks. So let's go to the back of the device. Nice pearlescent finish there. You've seen it on videos, but in my opinion that's a little bit over the top, because all it seems to be doing is drawing attention to the fact that this is an absolute fingerprint magnet, and becomes extremely unattractive within a very short time. That's not only an aesthetic problem, it's also a problem with this camera too. I'll just show you how I hold this device like this, and guess where my finger is? Right over the camera lens, which, if you're a photographer, basically renders this device useless, because every time you go to use the camera it's covered in smudges and you need to clean it. So what use is a camera when you need to carry a cleaning cloth every single time you use it? Sorry Samsung, it's a very poor show on the camera. You really need to be having a camera with a cover. That is 18 months old and that is still as clean as a whistle in there. Dual LED flash and video light. Xenon flash of course would be better for photography, but you can't use it for video. So that's a user choice whether you want LED or flash. I prefer Xenon myself, so I'm not too impressed with the whole camera setup on this. Other thing that's not so impressive is the single mono speaker here. While loud, the quality is pretty poor, especially compared to my N82, which I use as a radio, a streaming radio, podcast player, just playing through the built-in speakers, so a little bit disappointing on that one. Round to the front then, as I said, you've got the OLED screen, 800 by 480, very nice, very sharp contrast, very nice high bright colours. Not as good as the iPhone 3G outside. I assume the original iPhone is just as good. I've only ever tried the 3G and 3GS, but it's a fairly good touch layer, but just not as physical as the iPhone. There's some lag, there's some bits where it stutters, so really not that impressive. I'm not sure whether it would just be easier to have an up and down button, or use these buttons here just to flick between screens. There's a couple of sensors up here on the top left. So there's a proximity sensor which turns off the touchscreen when you're making a call, and an ambient light sensor which controls screen brightness. There's also second cam here for video calling. On the bottom you've got a set of buttons, so call reject, call answer, sorry, the other way around. And in the middle here, programmable button. In my case, long press brings up Opera browser, short press takes you to the start programs. There you go. There's a 4-way start programs menu, which Samsung used in place of the standard Windows start menu, which appears on the top left. We'll go a bit more into the software on another video. One thing I want to mention about the screen though is that it's a very soft plastic touch layer. I've already put a huge scratch on the front of this, and actually this is a very negative point on this phone, I find, and actually prevents me from putting it in my pocket without worrying about it. I would prefer, if I'm going to have a device of this caliber, it to be either clamshell so that it protects the screen, or a capacitive touch glass layer for protective. Resistive touch that's as soft as this, that's going to gather scratches as quickly as this, and this is 1 week after use and I already have 2 huge scratches on it that annoy me every time I look at the screen. For a device of this caliber, it's subpar in my opinion. So that's the second negative point on the Omnia Pro, apart from the camera. Switch onto the keyboard. The slider mechanism, really nice, high quality, very smooth. You want to be doing this all the time, playing with it, it's so smooth. 4-row QWERTY keyboard, so numerics are behind a function key. There's a couple of shortcut keys, long press on the space bar, switches on and off the vibrate function, and then there's a quick access to the composer function, which allows you to create messages, emails, calendar items, notes, or go to a quick search feature. And this is Smart Search, which actually searches the whole of your device through contacts, through videos, through content. That's quite useful there. So the keyboard physics are pretty good. The only thing I don't like is that the keys aren't separated at all, and that the backlight is central, but the key print is not central. So where the backlight is central, how can I explain this? For example, let's take the D character here. It's offset to the bottom right. At night, when you're using the backlit keyboard, you tend to be hitting the bottom right of each key, which means you have a risk of pressing the key next to it. As a problem with backlit keyboard at night anyway. It would be better to have a HTC Touch Pro 2 style keyboard, and in fact the Touch Pro 2 keyboard is better than this. It's faster, it's more, gives you more confidence, it's less stressful. Having said that, this is better than a lot of other keyboards. I think better than the N97, and certainly better than the Nokia N810 that I have here, which has a very squishy feel to the keyboard on that. So before I close up this video, let me just show you inside the device. Micro SD card slot is there, so it's not accessible from outside. You have to take the back off. So buy yourself a nice big fat SDHC card, 16 or 32 gigabytes, and leave it in there. Underneath the battery is the SIM card, and that is about it. So there's your quick 10-minute overview of the hardware on the Samsung Omnia Pro. Great build quality, nice compact form factor, good plastics. Negative points are the exposed camera, the poor mono speaker, and they're very soft, and you can actually see now in this light the scratch that I've got on here. The very soft touch layer to the touchscreen there. Keyboard as good as many other keyboards out there, not as good as the HTC Touch Pro 2, which I believe is quite a bit better than this due to the separated keys. So I'll be taking another look at the Omnia Pro in terms of software in another video following this, but feel free to ask questions on the My Omnia Pro blog, and I'll try and answer as many as I can as quickly as I can. But for the time being, this is Chippy from My Omnia Pro with the Omnia Pro. Thanks for watching.